As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.
Is doing well this Monday, Manic Monday. We are back. We have some breaking news coming out of Pennsylvania right now, and it is pretty shocking knowing all the details that we have learned about the case of Ellen Greenberg, and now we're here. Oh, and that reminds me, Justice for Crystal McElroy Jones, this is, I believe you're the one that sent me that package of stuff. If you want to stick around, after we're done having a conversation, now I won't review the actual documents you sent me live, but I'll just have this up right here and we'll start going through so I can ask some questions about the case, and the people here can learn a little bit about it. It'll be kind of impromptu. I haven't had a chance to dive into the case, but you're here, we're here, and I can't imagine me having a discussion about Ellen Greenberg being, taking forever. So what we'll do is we'll dovetail after this case here and just kind of do a preliminary review over the case and one, bring some attention to it if people haven't already heard about it, and two, at least if I have some questions preliminarily, we'll be able to handle it, and if there's something that I absolutely see that I can say, like, I can't get involved, or this is not, I can see where the problem is, or something like that, then we can probably address that right then and there. But we'll check it out. We'll see what we can do at the end of this, the conversation about Ellen Greenberg, and try to get some, at least if nothing more, a little attention to the case. So I'm Bullhorn Petty. We're going to be covering the case of Ellen Greenberg. And first of all, we're going to kind of go through the back end information. Why are we here? What in the world is going on? If you guys don't know about this case, let me just give you kind of the Reader's Digest version. This gal was stabbed to death. Okay, it was alleged that she did it to herself. There was over 20 stab wounds all over her, from the front side, the back side, some that are going in literally straight from the back side. Just weird positions. In my assessment, no possibility of her being the inflictor of some of the wounds that are observed on her body. However, they ruled this a homicide, changed it to suicide, and then her family had to go and take it to court to get a better ruling on it, where the medical examiner flip-flopped in the courtroom, and everybody's like, you're right, there's no possibility of this lady doing these things for herself. And so they were supposed to investigate this case, and now we're having shocking, and I mean shocking, because when we were in the courtroom, it sounded like everybody was in agreement that there's no possibility that this lady could have done these injuries to herself. And now we're learning from, I learned this from TMZ. There's other, news sources that are breaking this right now. But it was the TMZ version that I was reading when I found out that, holy crap, officials have reconfirmed this case a suicide. What? What? Are you blessed joking? Are you joking me right now? Like, I could have sworn we were all in court watching this situation unfold, and the news that we were getting from court was, holy smokes. Like, what was everybody thinking about this case? Like, why are we here? Why are we still fighting over this? It seemed like everybody was in agreement that there's no possibility of this lady doing this to herself. Let's look at some of the, one thing I forgot to pull up is the wounds. Hold on. And you'll see what I'm talking about. Wounds. I know we have an image of them. We have the image. Here we go, right here. Let's pull this up real quick. Let me show you guys. I mean, there's 20 stab marks on this lady. It's something I can't. Right there. Let's see if we can get this up just a little bit. I'll have to shrink it up and then make it bigger and then make it smaller and then make it bigger. Right there. Look at all these. Look at all these. I want to put this in perspective for my audience, because, we were just in court with the parents, and we're all in agreement that it's very difficult to put some of those knife wounds in the back of somebody's own head, that it's almost next to impossible. Right? Absolutely. Absolutely. And so now they won. They went to court. The parents went to court. They won. They were told that this is going to be investigated. Truly, truly, truly investigated. And wouldn't you know, that we're learning the investigators have once again ruled or reconfirmed this self-harm allegation, the suicide allegation. Now, there's a lot of things people don't understand about with Ellen Greenberg. She was a teacher. People loved her. There was a lot going on in her. She was starting to feel unhappy. She was starting to feel, she was about to get married to her fiance. They were planning that, but there were some things going on behind the scenes. I remember this. I haven't read this. Maybe it's in this story or not, but just to go off of my personal opinion and knowledge of this, there was some significant things going on in her personal sphere. With her school, she didn't really care for her school. She wasn't liking a lot. And she felt like I know she is absolutely gorgeous. And she was feeling overwhelmed. And I truly believe she was starting to feel cold feet. I think she was starting to feel like a fish out of water. She didn't feel like she fit. I think really is what was going on. And you can see kind of her her beau. I can't remember the guy's name. We're going to read it here. Once I hear it again, I'll remember it. Because I'm just now finding out about all of this here that we are starting to reconfirm. So let me go ahead and read the article, and then we'll go back and we'll learn a little bit more. So Ellen Greenberg's 2011 death is officially ruled a suicide again. That is correct, folks. If you're hearing me say we already went through this, we found out it wasn't a suicide, well, you are incorrect. They have officially ruled this self-harm once again. The ruling comes after the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office dug back in for the second look at the case in which a woman was found with multiple stab wounds in the back of her head and in the neck region. The ruling is sure to spark major controversy, and major controversy it will, because, again, there are very specific wounds that do not make sense. Predominantly, these ones right here. How can they be so straight? Look at these. You tell me how in the world you can get your arm, unless she had go-go gadget arms. I don't know how she's able to do these. These here, I'm not worried about. If this was all we were looking at, then I would say, okay, you know what? Maybe we're not wanting to see what is going on here, right? I mean, I can understand if just the front ones were there, that I would be like, okay, we got a problem here, folks. You know, maybe we're not looking at some things, you know, could we do this way? The answer is, of course we can. So bruising around the neck, I believe there was bruising around the neck. We're seeing it in this, we got bruising here, some bruising here, but are those from the penetrating, because bruising comes from the blood, right? The blood escaping the capillaries. When you break a bone, you get a pooling of blood in your legs. I know because I had a fractured bone, and it turned purple, right? That's kind of, it swells up and turns purple. There's some fluid that goes in there and stuff like that. Could this bruising that's in this diagram be from, like, bruising from this laceration, bruising from the actual sharp-edged object going into the skin, forcefully going into the skin? I thought she was leaving him. And see, that's the thing, is I think there was nothing confirmed about that. You know, it was kind of like a he said, she said type of situation. So I'm not sure. Fiance was law enforcement. Interesting, in my opinion. Not surprised. I don't know if he was Rory. I don't know if he was law enforcement. I can't remember all the specific details about him. Bruising found in multiple stages of healing as well. Now, that is the concern. I do believe that she was not doing well. Hey, Jen, it's nice to see you. Sonia, all the people coming in. YouTuber, Truth, it's nice to see you. Justice for Crystal, it's nice to see you. Peggy, Sonia, good afternoon. There's definitely red flags. I think we've all identified those red flags as we were talking about this particular case, especially in the past, because we've had some updates. You know, we haven't dived, feet first into this case, because this case happened long before I got here on these streets. You know, I didn't show up here until 2021. And so now it's 2025 going into 2026. That's as long as I've been here. Okay, this case happened in 2011. So when I first heard about this case was when there was an update on this case, when people were questioning the suicide determination from them. You know, the parents were still kicking up a fuss. Other people were talking about this case, and I think we were having a dormant or low news cycle. And so I dived into this case ever so slightly to see what was going on as new information was coming up. So I'm well versed in this case. We haven't dived into this case majorly because it's one or none, right? So the only other person that could have done this to her was her fiance. He was the only one that was there with her. It was her and him. And he's trying to say that the house was latched from the inside. You know, they're looking at all this information, and I'm sorry, I could latch something from the inside. Anybody that has, depending on what type of doorknob it is, I can show you. I've gotten in and out of houses quite frequently, especially in my younger years. Not to do anything, nefarious or anything like that. It's just, you get creative when you're an irresponsible teenager and you constantly are locking yourself out of certain places. You get a little more resourceful and you learn how to, break into things without damaging things. It's like, again, nothing nefarious. I wasn't a home robber or anything like that. But if I had to break into a house, for a variety of reasons, I knew how to break in without breaking anything. That's all I'm saying. So, and I knew how to lock up after myself as well, because again, sometimes I lost my keys and still had to secure a house, right? So we do have those types of situations, but right, it's the back of the head that's really the problem in here. So let's go ahead and read this article from TMC and keep reading it. But that's the reason why we're having the problem with it. It's all of these right here. This is our area of problematic, okay? And in this whole suicide analysis, it just doesn't bode well. It doesn't sound like it would bode well. So they're saying this is going to spark major controversy. Ellen, 27-year-old Philly teacher, was found dead by her fiance in 2011. She had been stabbed more than 20 times in the back of the head, the neck, and head region. A knife was protruding from her chest. Her death was initially ruled a homicide, but after meeting with the Philly PD, Assistant Medical Examiner Dr. Marlon Osborne determined she died by suicide. I'm really thinking that these people are a joke in Philadelphia. I'm sorry. Again, I think any reasonable person, if we're told that somebody with a shotgun can't commit a self-harm with a shotgun, when your feet and your toes are clearly long enough to pull back a trigger, but we're told all the time that it's very, very difficult, when I don't see how it is difficult to commit with a rifle or long arm, long whatever. So they're trying to convince me that somebody can reach their arm behind their head and go straight in. Straight in. Everybody, pick up your arms. We have 62 people in the chat right now. 62 viewers. I want you to all pick up your hands. And I want you to go right behind you. And, you can see these are not small little knives. They're not little pocket knives, okay? So that you got a big blade on there. And I want you to reach your hand as far back behind you. And I want you to see how far you can get in your neck and in the back of your head. And are you going to be able to get that straight? Because the way it looks like to me is my hand, it's going to have some type of angle. It's not going to be straight in like somebody is behind me hitting me, And that's what it looks like. It looks like somebody was behind her just, and she's turning around and they're just hitting her. They might have gotten her in the back before they went to the front. But for the people in here, this is bullcrap. Yes. Yes. Darn, I have to put my ice cream down. Well, you go ahead, put your ice cream down. It'll only take you a second because you can't do it. News, or what is it called? Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. You can't do it. I've tried. Now, granted, I didn't actually have a knife in my hand. I don't want to, I don't want to accidentally hurt myself. I'm not a dummy. But I think she was. I think it was her fiance. I think that the law enforcement just completely botched this case and they don't want to deal with it. And so they're going to keep going back. They're going to keep using its good old boy system. I don't trust it. I want them to show people, with all of our animated, right? They use it in court cases all the time, do they not? We see them set up 3D models. We see them put animation to 3D models. We watch them utilize these things in homicide investigations to reconstruct scenes for the jury, right? So if they can do that for the jury, I'd like them to put together what they believe, how they believe they were able, they see wherever she was able to do that. I want them to put this in an animated 3D model that is animated that can show how this diagram is possible. I think they owe it to the family. I think they owe it to the public, because right now I think they're full of crap. And I think here we go again. Somebody has screwed up this case so bad, or this guy, that her fiance is well connected. Something's not right here. We all know it in our gut. We know that something is not right when we talk about this case, and this is the diagram right here, that there is no possibility in my mind that she could have committed suicide or any other type of self-harm. Now call me crazy. I could be wrong. But I'd like somebody to please explain it to me. My email is bullhornbetty@gmail.com. You can go ahead and take a screenshot of this, and please try to explain this to me. Because that's where my problem is. If somebody can explain this to me, then I will be, maybe I'll understand a little bit better. So they're basically saying that she's responsible for this, okay? She was married to her fiance. He found her deceased. She was stabbed over 20 times. There was a knife protruding from her her chest. And this was ruled initially a homicide and then later changed to a suicide. And nobody can explain how it changed to a suicide except the fact that they either didn't do their job or the man is heavily connected. I don't see how she would be able to get those knives so perfectly straight in the back of her head. Now, maybe if she got one of them, maybe once, like she got lucky with one of the stabs. But to have multiple stabs in that angle, that's impossible unless she has ultra long arms, abnormally long arms, in my opinion. Fast forward to February 2025, under the pressure of Greenberg family, the medical examiner's office revisited the case, and that's not true. They took the medical examiner and the whole entire county to court because they refused to review the case. And so it wasn't under pressure of the family. They took them to court. They had a court order. And I think they violated that court order already once or twice. And I'm talking about the county. So the medical examiner's office revisited the case and is maintaining the same manner of death. I think they need to have an outside expert come in. Chief Medical Examiner Lindsay Simone re-examined the case, and in a 32-page report released October 10th concluded, while distribution of injuries is admittedly unusual, the fact remains that Ellen would be capable of inflicting these injuries herself. They're saying would be capable. I find that highly improbable. And I'd like them, with all of the digital stuff that they use in courts, I'd like them to produce something that can show us visually how she could possibly do that to herself. That's what I would like. I think anything short of that is malpractice at this point. The Philadelphia Inquirer reports Simone discovered 20 more bruises on Greenberg's body and 3 more perforations in the skin that hadn't been documented in the original autopsy, but still ruled her death a suicide. Somebody screwed up somewhere and somebody's covering up. I'm sorry. Pull this. I don't know how. This is the type of stuff that we need law created for. When stuff like this happens, what do you do then? It's not fair to keep forcing this family all this money to go back to court to have these people do their job. Because I can tell you, just in ours, I'd like somebody to step forward. Oh, thank you, Melanie. Melanie gifted a Bullhorn Betty gift card or membership. If you received your Bullhorn Betty membership, welcome to this crazy family we call the Coffee Club, i.e. the Insane Asylum. Grab your straitjacket and your padded room and welcome aboard. So the decision is definitely stirring the pot again. People are asking the obvious. How does someone stab themselves over and over again in the back of the head and call it a suicide? This is, this is where everybody is stuck on stupid, okay? Right there. That is where everybody is absolutely stuck on stupid. Because how do you? Look, the decision is definitely stirring the pot again. People are asking the obvious. How does someone stab themselves over and over again in the back of the head and call it a suicide? It's bad, folks. It is bad. Whoa, whoa, whoa. We got some. This is not right. I feel some type of way. I'm not going to lie to you, folks. I feel some type of way here. Can we get a count of how many people are here going to Tennessee for Sebastian? Oh, if you're going to be going to Tennessee for Sebastian in February, please put a 1 in the chat so we can get a head count. We'll start doing some head counts over the next month or so and see if we can get some more support, making sure we have our count in. Gwen, it's nice to see you. Not possible. And not only that, but didn't we have a court hearing where everybody was like, how stupid it is to actually think these injuries are suicide, and here we go again? So I don't get it. Oh, good. We got some people. We already got 4. That's great. That's great. I love it. Aw, that's okay, Jen. We understand. We understand. But yeah, if we can start, maybe somebody can start like a list and just keep us an update on where we are number-wise. That'd be great. That'd be great. So let's get back to this. Sorry, I get off kilter here. TMZ reached out to the medical examiner for an explanation on how they think Ellen could have done it to herself. So far, no word back. This is so unfair to her family because they're going to have to go back to court again. I'm sorry. They need to demand that they have their own expert investigate everything. They need to hire somebody at this point because they're just going to keep going back to court. They're going to waste hundreds of thousands of dollars when they're going to end up having to pay hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to have another person, an independent person, come in. I think they need to have an independent person come in. The Greenberg family attorney, Joseph Pedraza Jr. tells TMZ MEO Simone's so-called independent review of Ellen Greenberg's death is deeply flawed, attempted to justify a predetermined conclusion. It includes false claims like the assertion that a stab wound in Ellen's spinal column was made during the autopsy, a theory rejected by every credible expert. Including, so that's important because if there was a stab wound in the column, in the spinal column, then she was probably paralyzed and would not have been able to do any of the other stab wounds, and that would have proved that. So, yeah, wow. So they're saying that the assertion the stab wound in Ellen's spinal column was made during the autopsy, and they're saying that this theory was rejected by every credible expert, including the city's own neuropathologist. Wow. By ignoring key evidence that contradicts suicide, the extensive 3D grammetry, I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, a recreation which proves Ellen could not self-inflict all those wounds, unexplained bruises, missing surveillance footage, an intact lock, accounts for toxic relationship, etc. Simone builds a flimsy case on distorted portrayal of Ellen's mental health, propped up by clinical distortion of Ellen's managed anxiety, a condition wildly experienced daily by over 40 million Americans. So, yeah, I gotta say there's something wrong with this. I don't agree with it. It just defies logic. Let's be honest. It defies logic. It defies logic. It defies logic, okay? I'm sorry. We just put your hands in the back of your head, okay? You can put your hands in the back of your head. Now go back as far straight back as you can. You can only lift your hands about 5 to 6 inches off the back of your head going straight back. You can't go any further back than that. And you're looking at that blades that have almost 9 to 10-inch blades on them. There's no way. Now, granted, my hands don't go back like everybody else's because I've had neck surgery, okay? So I've got a discectomy infusion, which does affect my range of motion. But somebody else that doesn't have that type of surgery, and you put your hands on the back of your neck, you might be able to go out a little further than me straight back. But it's not going to be that much further. It might be an extra inch or so, folks. They used that against my sister because she took antidepressants. And that shouldn't be used against them because you're taking the medication so you don't feel those things. But she was going through something. There's no doubt about it. She was very uneasy. I think she felt trapped. I think, maybe she started seeing the nasty side of her fiance that wasn't once noticeable. She wasn't happy in work. She felt far away from her family. She was second guessing a lot at the time. And I think she told him she didn't want to be with him anymore. I think she wanted to go home. I think she wanted to go back to her family. I think she wanted to go back where she felt safe with her mom and dad. God knows what he put her through. We don't know. We have no earthly idea. So we've got here the Philadelphia medical examiner reconfirms Ellen Greenberg's stabbing death was a suicide. I still don't understand how this is possible.
Dead from 20 stab wounds. Her death ruled a homicide before controversially being reversed to a suicide. Her parents have been fighting to change that ever since, and now in a 32-page review made public today, the chief medical examiner said Ellen would have been capable of inflicting injuries on herself, noting that there was no sign of a struggle at the scene and the fiance's DNA was not on the knife.
I'm sorry, when you're angry with somebody, there doesn't have to be, because I have a funny feeling the injuries initially came to the back of the body and then were put on the front of the body. I don't think there was a struggle. I think he hit her spinal cord, and I think she was paralyzed right then and there, preventing her from struggling at all. So just a little bit of, tidbit of her. So Ellen Ray Greenberg was born June 23rd, 1983 in New York City and was the only child of Joshua and Sandra Greenberg. That's awful. In 1994, the family moved to Harrisburg from New York. Ellen attended Susquehanna Township. Why do they have Susquehanna? I can't pronounce this. Susquehanna Township. I don't know these words. Middle school. Sorry, folks. After graduating high school, Ellen attended Penn State University. While at Penn State University, she worked as a lionizer, whatever that is, where she introduced athletes and their parents to the campus. Oh, gotcha. And even helped out on the football field. Ellen graduated from Penn State with a degree in communication. She was planning on becoming a speech pathologist, but realized it wasn't the right career path for her. She then attended Temple University at night to earn her teaching credentials. After Ellen obtained her teaching credentials, she began her career as a first grade teacher at Juanita or something like that, Park Academy. Sorry, I can't pronounce some of these names. So in 2007, that's when Ellen met her fiance Sam Goldberg through a mutual friend when they went on a blind date. 3 years later, Sam proposed to Ellen on a beach during a trip to California. Ellen accepted his proposal, making the beginning of their journey. And about 6 months later, the month leading up to her death, parents and friends began to notice significant change in her behavior. It sounded like Maybe Sam started changing on her. I'm sorry, I just don't believe that those that is her. I'm sorry. I can't believe it. I really just can't believe it. Now, I know we have somebody in here, Justice for Crystal McCrory Jones. If you want to stick around for a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and pull your case up and see what we can find out on that one. I believe we had, you sent me some stuff. Let me just see what we got here. Open. Okay, we got the timeline. What's this? The Dropbox. I think that's it. I think there's just the two emails. Let's see what we got here. Is there anything, I'm here, is there anything in here that's kind of off? I won't say the names, I won't read the names and the relationships. I don't think that needs to be known at this moment. So let me just get to the timeline of events that might be helpful. As it relates to this document, mentioned in reference is myself. Jana is the sister of Crystal. I'm the one preparing this document. We is in reference to my family. Okay. So let me just keep reading. Let me just read here. I don't want to read anything out loud. Let me just look up one quick thing here. So she is deceased. Aw, she's pretty. So it looks like this is in Oak Grove, Louisiana. This happened on February 9th, 2023. A mother of two was found dead from a gunshot wound to her head region in her Oak Grove, Louisiana home. Within 1 hour and 45 minutes, authorities classified her death as a self-harm, but new evidence and investigative inconsistencies are raising serious questions about what really happened that day. The town of Oak Grove, with a population of 1,441, according to the 2020 U.S. Census, is rarely placed where much trouble incidents makes headlines, but suspicious circumstances surrounding Crystal's death make this a quiet town the focus of scrutiny. 2 days before Crystal's death, the Ring doorbell camera at her home was disconnected. Her husband, Tony Joe Jones, employed by West, he's an officer. Not good. I'm already not liking it. The agency in charge of the investigating her death was never officially considered a suspect, according to the investigative report reviewed by CC News. He's only the husband and the first person law enforcement looks to. That's Police 101. Give me a second. Sorry. Her husband was once employed by the investigating agency. Thank you. Publicly criticized the investigation, saying the sheriff's office prematurely credited. All right. So let me go over here and look at some things here. You said you have the whole report. Do we have the autopsy? Or the, there it is. Hold on, talks there. Hold on, there it is. Hold on, give me just a second. Well, I'm only seeing one here from February 22nd, 2023. Which one's this one? Let me see what this one is. Yeah, I'm only seeing the February 2nd. So I guess my first 9mm. Okay, so Louisiana, the way my brain would be processing this is Louisiana is a gun-friendly state. They're a 2A state. I love your senator in Louisiana, John Kennedy. We find very much humor in his commentary, but my problem here is they're talking about, I guess my first question is whose gun was it? And you might, if you don't want to answer these things in the chat, you don't have to. It might be easier. Would it be? It might be easier if you'd like to come up here, or you can answer these questions here. Let me give you a list of questions. You could send them to me by email. The reason why I went ahead and did this right now is because you're in the chat. I haven't had a chance to look at the information yet, and I wanted to make sure that we got an opportunity to look at all of this information, but I also wanted to keep it off of my channel where people couldn't see it. But I wanted to be able to review it while you were here because I know I'm going to have questions related to it, and I usually get a lot of my information from the autopsy. And usually they give us some information as to why they feel that this was why they feel this was self-harm. Like, was there gunshot residue on the hand? How far was the stippling? I'm looking at very specific stuff in these autopsy reports to confirm or conclude the same thing. Was there a suicide note? None of that was on her autopsy. Okay. Was there ever a letter? Was there ever anybody? Did she ever speak about unhappiness? No GSR testing was done. Well, then how can they confirm? Was her husband working at the time of this? Was he on patrol? Was he at the home? Okay, let me just go ahead and start. Actually, let me start getting some notes on this so I can get it. Okay, let's see what we got in here. No GSR. Oh, that's what I needed to put in here. So, next question. No note. Okay. So, who would have told law enforcement that she was, usually they don't automatically assume self-harm or suicide. Usually they have something there. Robin, he also withheld her ashes from us and death certificate with her time of death. Was he abusive in the past? Can you prove domestic violence previously? That would be important. Is past domestic violence or any proof of past domestic violence that could go a long way into helping. Gwen, thank you. Gifted 5 Bullhorn Betty memberships. If you received your 5 Bullhorn Betty memberships, welcome to this crazy family we call the Coffee Club, i.e. the Insane Asylum. Grab your straitjacket in your padded room and welcome aboard. Verbally, yes, not physically. Okay. Was there any changes in her life? Yeah, let me see. I don't know if I can. Let me try to see if I can get this up here. Hold on a second. Let's see. Google phone. Google Voice. That's it. I can't even remember the name of Google Voice. Good gracious, Andrew. What is wrong with you, lady? Can't even remember Google Voice. Okay, let's see what we got here. Sign in. You're in like Flynn. I'll have to move. Okay. So, the only way. Copy. Give me just a second because I've got to figure out how I'm going to do this. I think the best way to do this is to bring this photo in front of this. Then I can turn this on. Okay, perfect. And I don't think, why is it doing that? Did I do something wrong here? Okay. Alright, so let me get this and make sure all the sounds are working. And this is on. Let's turn the web on. Okay, the web is on. Sorry, I've never done the phone on this new OBS platform, so bear with me. Is it Jana? Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. Alright, there is the phone number right there to call into the show. I'm going to say, Jana, go ahead and call in. And we're going to try to see if we can get this. I'm hoping that everything is, let's see, I'm hoping that everything is working fine. If you would like to try to call into that number, then I'll just ask you the questions I have. And you can kind of give me some information on this case, and I think that would probably be the best way to do it. Now, if it's not ringing, you're going to have to let me know, but it looks like everything there we go. Is this Jana?
This is Jana.
Okay, hold on. Can the chat, before we get started, you can hear me because you answered my question. Can the chat hear you, I guess is the next question. Chat, can you hear her? You want to say hi to everybody? So they're saying I hear the ring.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jana, Crystal's sister.
Okay, I hear her. Perfect. So this is the first time you're our first since I've changed to the new system. You are literally the first call in we have ever had on this show.
Oh, wow.
So thank you for that. Thank you very much. Give me just a second. Let me take this off and then let me turn off my phone so nobody else can call in while you are on here. And there we go. Turn it off. Okay, perfect. So give us a little bit some information about your sister Crystal, and hopefully, if nothing more, let me get a photo of your sister up here. Well, at least, I can't do that. Oh crap, I can't do that because if I do that, then I'm showing your phone number, then I'm doxing you. So we're just gonna have to keep the background that we've got up behind me up, and we'll try to do something a little bit better. So tell us a little bit about your sister Crystal, and why we're here. What happened, what brought us to this point.
Yes, ma'am. So tell me if I'm kind of going on a tangent or if I talk too fast. So she was 43 years old when she passed away in Oak Grove, Louisiana. Immediately when I got to the crime scene, there were things that were said to her husband by the coroner, like things like, we still have to send her body off for an autopsy. Her husband immediately hugged me and said it's a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Just weird things that he was saying at the crime scene. And the police were talking to him, and no one asked who I was. I made my brothers not.
Let me ask you this: this whole self-inflicted. Was he home at the time that this happened?
He was 12 minutes away. He said he owned a martial arts studio aside from his side job or his real job as a maintenance man.
Mm-hmm.
And he was 12 minutes away, so he called one of the deputies that he used to work with at Oak Grove Sheriff's Department to do a welfare check on her because she wouldn't answer her phone. So he got someone else to go in and find her.
So, but the question would be, what would make him? Because you never just you don't just say, okay, I can't get a hold of her. Let me call the cops. Like
that's all he did was he said I had a karate studio full of students. I couldn't go check on her, which we later confirmed. The family did that wasn't true. We have witness statements saying that he didn't have anybody in the karate studio at that time. We have his Google timeline locations showing that he never was at the karate studio at any point during the day. And he called, like I said, to get the welfare check done. He's on the phone with the cop, and he actually leads them through the house, tells them the door's unlocked, and leads them to the bedroom, where they discover my sister shot through a pillow with a single gunshot wound to the head. She had a pillow over her head.
Through a pillow? That's odd. Usually whenever you're going to do self-harm, you're not putting a pillow anywhere.
Right. It was a shot through so there's no stippling at all because the pillow stopped the close contact gunshot wound from going through.
That's a red flag to me. That is a major red flag to me, is this pillow thing. I know people that have successfully, unsuccessfully self-harmed, and not one time anybody using a firearm have I ever heard of them grabbing a gun before doing it. A law enforcement officer, though, may use a pillow to try to thwart any type of stippling, but if he could get close enough to use a pillow, then I guess that pillow would have to be examined, because was it pushed against the person's body when the firearm went off, or was it placed on their body afterwards?
Right, and the stippling actually burnt the pillow. The pillow was, you could see where the shot came through the pillow, where the stippling and the burn marks. And we were never told about the pillow being placed over her head. When I did a FOIA request for the crime scene photos, because I had to do a FOIA request for every single thing. I mean, for the police report, for everything. They would give me nothing. So I did FOIA requests, and when I got the crime scene photos, I was the one that discovered they took 4 pictures of a pillow over her head. But nobody ever mentioned that to us. And we had recorded meetings. In that file, there's recorded meetings with the sheriff and the district attorney. No one ever mentioned that to us. And the pillow wasn't collected. They allowed him to burn the pillow along with the bed in his backyard 2 days later.
He burnt the pillow and the bed in the backyard?
In the backyard 2 days later. The spent shell casings was found 9 days later by her husband. The police didn't even leave with the spent shell casing.
Well, you know what? This is going to be the problem you're going to have. They've screwed up the entire
They
case.
screwed up the entire, yes. And so we immediately asked in a recorded meeting for the state police to come in because it was a biased investigation because of his recent employment with them.
Yeah.
And they actively denied the state police coming in. We've gone all the way to Washington, D.C. with this case, with my sister's case. It was on True Crime News, local news stations, and because it's the sheriff's department, nobody will go after them.
You know, and that's the problem. And the only way you can go after them is get in it, like the case we're covering right now. You know, Ellen Greenberg. I mean, this is a prime example of what the botch of the police department that has spilled over now, saying that this woman unalived herself, and now they've screwed up the entire case. What do they do at this point? You know,
they can't do anything.
It's hard, and you're exactly right. Well, you do have the file. Is there, let me think about this. Where would we get a second opinion from at this point?
So here's the problem. Her death was ruled a suicide in an hour and 45 minutes because the 7-minute long recording with her husband, the interview they did with him was 7 minutes long. In the first sentence, the lead detective says, "We're here due to the self-inflicted gunshot wound of your wife, Crystal McCrory Jones." So they ruled it self-inflicted. Case closed. They sent the death certificate. I had to pay for my own copy. They denied me a copy of it. Her husband did because he didn't want me to see the time of death. The death certificate says suicide. Case closed. Well, the sheriff's attorney, we hired several private investigators, including Sheila Wasaki was one of them out of Tennessee. And he sent her a letter on June 17th, 2024, denying her FOIA request because he said her case, my sister's case, remains open without a formal disposition. So I didn't know what that meant. Like, how can a suicide remain open? So in December of 2024...
But that might be actually a good thing for you. Because
in December of 2024, I did a FOIA request asking for the status of my sister's case from the sheriff's department. And in his email back to me from the FOIA request, it says, there is no status to your sister's case. I don't know what that means.
Well, to me, the way I'm looking at it is it doesn't sound like your sister's case is closed.
Right.
Otherwise, the disposition would be closed, and it would be up for public record consumption. You should be able, there's not an open investigation. You should be able to get all the evidence that you need from the case at this point, if that's the case. So it sounds like that there's something not right here. This is the problem. Is this your case is not unique? We're finding this out with a lot of different cases and a lot of different areas where counties and state officials actually obstruct the investigation themselves. Why? I have no idea.
Right.
But you know, it doesn't seem like they would have a dog in the fight, but for whatever reason, they obstruct their own case. We've seen it in Sebastian Rogers' case. We're seeing it in Ellen Greenberg's case. Obviously, in your sister's case, Crystal's case, we're seeing it there, where these are completely, utterly botched, intentionally or unintentionally. And where do you go? Whenever you go for help, whenever you go for somebody to put eyes on it, you're constantly at the mercy of the government. You know, you can't move the case. Right. You can't advance the case yourself without law enforcement happening. We need to have some type of law in place that helps families advance their cases when they are dealing with a corrupted county or a county that doesn't want to acknowledge that they've made huge mistakes in a case.
And that's my sister's case. Is they don't want it. Their egos won't allow them to acknowledge that they messed up her case, and at the end, we may never know what happened to her.
Right.
Because of that.
Right. Delilah, knock it off. And that's where I'm saying, because right when you started telling me all this stuff and I start hearing he's burning stuff, which is really, you know, that you would think that law enforcement would pause just a little bit when you hear stuff like that, because typically people don't go straight to burning things. Like if they want something out of their house that has like their loved one, unalive themselves, and you're heartbroken, you typically drag that out and want somebody just to dispose of it, take it to the dumpster. Very rarely. I mean, I can't unless I was burning my ex-boyfriend's clothes that cheated on me. I don't burn crap. I take it out to the front yard and let them take it away. The act of burning tells me he's trying to destroy something that might come back to bite him later. And that should always be a red flag for law enforcement, and they should stop and slow up. But in many of these cases, like you're dealing with, they're not. So where do you think, or how do you think that anybody can really help you advance Crystal's case, I guess is the question. I mean, we're here. It looks like they've messed up your sister's case. It sounds like there's no evidence to support anything because they weren't searching for evidence back in 2023. And would they be able to find evidence now in 2025 that your brother-in-law, or late brother, or your ex-brother-in-law, is responsible for your sister's untimely demise?
Right, and the truth is, and I've kind of come to terms with this, is at the end of the day, I probably will never know what happened to her. I'm never going to know if it's suicide, if it's homicide. I'm never going to know that. And my whole journey for doing this and to continue to advocate about her case is because there's way too many families that go through the exact same thing. When we went to Washington, like you said, her case is not unique. I said that to Bill Cassidy's councilman. We went with Christian Andriacchio's mom, Jonathan Cruz's mom, and Lauren Agee's mom. Mm-hmm. All of the cases, all of the same exact thing from the South, the rural South. And nobody wanted to listen. And those are the exact words that I said to him: "My sister's case is not unique. You're not going to remember her name when I walk out of here."
Yeah, and you might want to start getting behind somebody like Seth Rogers. Seth Rogers, I'm covering the case if you've been watching me, Sebastian Rogers. He's trying to bring Sebastian's Law, and this is a federal oversight law that helps resolve this because he's dealing with the same thing. He's dealing with a corrupted county that's handling his son's case. They're not investigating it. He wants the FBI or the U.S. Marshals to help. They're obstructing the case. He wants answers for his son. He's not getting the answers for his son. And so he's thought about Sebastian's Law, which is a federal oversight law that allows families to ask for it to be moved up the chain. And I think that there needs to be more people getting behind laws like that. And you might want to, in your state, formulate a Crystal's Law that mimics.
So we have actually Crystal's Law. It actually had to do with cremated human remains because he had her cremated against our wishes, mm-hmm. but he also withheld the ashes from not only us but her son who lived in New York. We live in Louisiana, and so he finally mailed them to her son, but he mailed them illegally. There was no documentation across 7 states where there's actually no penalty for, not following those policies and procedures. So Crystal's Law was actually passed in Louisiana in June of 2024 in regards to mailing cremated human remains, mm-hmm. and there being a fine or a penalty for doing that. So now, like what you're saying, Crystal's Law is being able for families to move it up a level of the chain of command. That's exactly what we're advocating for. We're using those same representatives and senators to try to push for that.
Start having them reach out to Seth Rogers because his is for federal oversight. This is instead of it being
if I could get his email just to contact him, I would be behind that 100%.
Okay, give me just a second. Yeah, because I know for a fact he wants to talk to representatives about Sebastian's Law. He wants to get Sebastian's Law enacted. He wants, and Sebastian, here, I'll read Sebastian's Law to you real quick. Give me just 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Where is Sebastian's Law? Right here. So this is basically what it is. Let me go down to the Establishment Division. The findings: each year, thousands of children are reported missing in the United States. Disabled children is about children, but there is no federal repository for oversight authority ensuring timely thorough, and accountable investigations. Federal oversight and uniform standards will help improve recovery rates, protect civil rights, and hold agencies and officers accountable. It establishes a division in the Department of Justice that maintains a national database that oversees investigations and reports to Congress. This is not just about children. This is also about people that are over the age of 21. But his is specific for his son. So a lot of those things are geared, but it's about the federal oversight and the families being able to engage these cases up the food chain versus being at the mercy, so to speak, of the local law enforcement. And I think that really is super, super important. But I will give
That is
you,
huge.
yeah, I will give you Seth. Well, let me reach out to to Seth and make sure
Yeah,
I
reach
can.
out to him first. Yeah.
Yeah, and make sure I can give you his contact information. And if he gives me the green light, I'll give you his email, and you guys can correspond. Because if you've already got your hands with some politicians in Louisiana,
And
Arkansas, then that would be great, because then we can start working in Tennessee and getting this before. And again, if we can get enough, we can get this in front of U.S. House and U.S. Senate, then it'll be a lot easier versus state, Congress, because then if we go through state Congress, it's got to be done through every single state.
Every state,
or
right.
At least
and that's
35, at least 35 states before we can go federal.
Right, and that's where I've been pushing for John Kennedy and Bill Cassidy to look at my sister's case, because, like you said, it state laws matter, but unless it's going to be looked over federally, then they're not going to get anywhere, because these states' laws are so different. I mean, we're battling now because Crystal passed away in Louisiana, but her body was shipped to Little Rock, Arkansas, so there is no there's jurisdictional issues there with her autopsy, because her autopsy was completely wrong, from hair color to eye color to internal organs. Everything was wrong in her initial autopsy. So now we don't know, who's over. Is it Arkansas Board of Medical Examiners, or is it Louisiana who has oversight over the pathologist?
Yeah, and that's what's bothering me, because whenever people have problems or a dispute, what do you do?
Right.
It shouldn't take hundreds of thousands of dollars to have to go to court to challenge these, because, the majority of my audience here does not make that much money. Okay.
No, I'm a teacher. I'm a kindergarten teacher. I promise I don't make that much money.
Right. You don't have the money or the resources to take a county to court. So what do we do? You're at the mercy, and here we've got yet another case where it could very well be that she had nothing to do with this. I have to say, there's some things that are, you've hit some things on the head for me that say, wait a minute, we should pause. And I would think that law enforcement would have said the same thing. Predominantly, start burning stuff. You start burning crap, that's a huge red flag to me. Don't burn shit.
Right. They deemed it irrelevant. We brought his Google timeline location to them. Everything on February the 23rd, 2023. My brother, my sister-in-law, and I met with the sheriff. We recorded it legally in Louisiana, thank God. It's a one-party state. Yeah. And he deemed it completely irrelevant. And when we went to the district attorney, it was even worse. When you listen to those, there's 3 recordings. When you listen to those, you're going to get sick to your stomach. The worst one is like a 20-minute long conversation between the sheriff and I when I obtained my sister's death certificate, because I had to order it on my own. I got it, and I saw the time of death was 11 a.m., which was the exact time her husband was passing by the house, according to his Google timeline locations, going from the town that I live in, passing their house, and going straight to the West Carroll Parish Sheriff's Office, where he stayed for 19 minutes. And when I brought that to the sheriff's attention on the phone on a Sunday afternoon, he says, "What are you talking about? There was absolutely no way a time of death could be established in your sister's case." He said, what are you trying to do, woman? Basically accusing me of forging a death certificate. He was irate.
Right.
And it'll make your stomach turn.
Well, there are ways that you can force their hand, because you've got a lot more information than most of my families that are going through this get.
Yeah.
So what I would do is you're going to have to, and you might want to start looking into like Word documents, like Excel spreadsheets and stuff like that, and start building a timeline. because if you look at some of these trials, like say Alec Murdaugh, if you go back and watch that trial and you listen to the investigators and you go to the point in the trial where they're pinpointing all of his locations, you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to build the case step by step.
It's in that timeline. In that timeline, that's what I did.
And
every minute is built into that timeline.
Okay, and it still wasn't enough. Mm-hmm.
No, what they did was they took the original police report that my brother and I were denied with the district attorney. She denied us a copy of it.
Mm-hmm. They
took that police report. Then they took what I gave them in the Google timeline records, put it in a second police report. Then they gave it to us, and it was exactly word for word what I told them in the Google timeline location records that they didn't have at the point of the initial police report. So when I went after the pathologist in Arkansas, part of his discovery was the original police report. So now we have 3 different police reports. And so now we're using the Kyron Lacey case, the LSU quarterback that, committed suicide after he ran into someone caused a head-on collision.
Mm-hmm.
The attorney general and the Louisiana State Police are involved in that case because they're saying that the guilt caused him to commit suicide, and the new evidence said he didn't cause the wreck. And I threw a fit. I threw a fit with the attorney general, the guy that I'm in contact with. I said, how is that possible for them to investigate a suicide when they wouldn't touch my sisters because it's a suicide?
Right.
And so I threw a fit, and he said, "You're absolutely right." He's like, "It's the same scenario."
I wish Ken Kensington was, or Kinsey was, did stuff pro bono, but he's very, very, very expensive, and he does crime recreation and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
if you send me his contact information, I'm not opposed to anything.
Yeah, it's just that the problem that I foresee is if I see a couple things. I think you need to directly ask him, is this case closed? And if it's not closed, I think you need to get down to why it's not closed. Obviously, if they believe this is a suicide, this should be a closed case. It should be, closed and in the closed file. It's done. It's over with. And they shouldn't be giving you any problems about any type of documentation or whatever. But it doesn't sound like they've treated you very fair. It seems like there's some resistance there from law enforcement. So the only way you're going to get anywhere with a situation like this, in my honest opinion, is suing them. And you better, if you're going to do that, you better have your ducks in a row, because just like Ellen Greenberg, they had to basically prove she couldn't have done that, even though now that they reinvestigated, they're saying the same damn thing. So.
Right. She would have to have been a contortionist. And when you look at the crime scene photos, I sent you a Google Drive and a Dropbox link.
Yeah, I got those.
And then just beware that the Dropbox link is the crime scene photos.
Yeah.
You'll see that my sister would have been a contortionist to be able to make the shot that was fired with her hand to land where it landed. It just doesn't make sense.
And that's another thing, is that, especially with these gunshot wounds and the positioning of the gun and stuff like that. Listen, I'm going to tell you, never give up, because there's been a lot of cases that finally, over years, maybe it takes a year or 2 years or 5 years, but sometimes just keep nagging. You might get a detective that will take you seriously and just look at the case again and may uncover that. I know I've heard that in the past, but it until you get past that, until you get a body that doesn't have any attachment to her ex, it's these small communities, it's hard. It's just very, very hard, because law enforcement is stubborn and they make up their mind long before the case is solved, I find.
And the worst thing, I think, the thing that riled them up the most wasn't me going to Washington. It wasn't me talking to Vernon Gabrus, the lead homicide detective that wrote the manual for homicides. It wasn't any of that. It was me putting up a $1,500 billboard right down the street from the sheriff's department that said, "Why didn't she deserve a proper investigation?" And
I love it. Sister up there. That's what you do, though. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, and that's what riled them up. They tried to have it. They called the CEO of the company, Landmark, to try to have it removed, and they're like, "No, this is, it's not defamation." And she's not saying anybody who did it. She just said, "Why was the investigation botched?" And they left it up. Now, the day the payment stopped, because it was for 3 months, they took it down. But that was what riled them up the most, was just making noise, and that's why I refused to stop.
Yeah, good. All right, well, I don't know what I can do to help, but I'm absolutely here if you need some pressure.
Mhm.
I think that there does need to be federal oversight. This is not a unique situation. This is happening more and more.
Everywhere.
Yeah, it is. And there has to be some type of accountability for law enforcement. They can't just check these boxes and say this is a suicide, and when people disagree with them, the buck stops with them. There has to be some challenging. There has to be some due process, even in these cases, for the victims. And sometimes I feel like they're not doing it. They made up their mind. They
Yeah.
they believe that they're in many parts where whatever they say goes. And
And that's what it is.
and when things are wrong, where do the victims' families move to? There's no place right now. There's nothing to
There is
challenge
no
them
place.
without having to come up with a boatload of money, and that's not fair. That's not fair. It's not a fair society, and these are the most vulnerable because they're deceased people that deserve justice. So I wish you and your family the best of luck. If you find ways, I mean, I'm happy to be out there. If you decide you want to do a protest, you decide you want to hold people accountable, you need something like that, you need some resources, you need some bodies, I'm happy to help you and your family any way I can. But it sounds like this law enforcement body screwed up this case, and it doesn't look like there's going to be a whole lot that's going to be done until they're forced to do something. And the only way you're going to force them to do something is do what Ellen Greenberg's family had to do,
Right.
sue the crap out of them. And if you don't have the money, what
Right.
do you do?
Well, just if you can do anything, it's just to have people follow the Justice for Crystal McCrory TikTok page and Facebook page. There's over 7,000 people in the
Can you
in the
send
Facebook
that to
page.
me by email, and I'll make a
I
post.
sure can.
I'll make a post on YouTube, and I'll make a post on Facebook for you.
I will, and all documents that I shared with you, 90% of them, I don't share crime scene photos, but they're shared in those on those social media platforms so people can see for themselves.
Okay.
Anything that I say,
Then that's
there's a document
perfect.
there.
Because I'd rather them go there instead of me accidentally share something. That's why I didn't put anything up on my
Right.
my my thing. Everything that I'm sent is confidential unless I have permission to share it. But
Right.
I figured since you were coming up and you were willing to talk, might as well get it done now, because once this show closes down and I start working or looking down another rabbit hole, I may forget to come back, and we had time today to do it. So I'm glad I got
Right.
an opportunity
Well,
to
thank you
learn
so
about
much.
Crystal's case. Yeah, absolutely. So send me that information. I'll get that up in all of the chats that we can, and get people over there to learn a little more about your sister's case.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Wow. Hey, well, at least we know we can do Google now, right? At least we know we got the Google. We got the Google. The Google voice works. Everybody says it sounded great. So I'm very pleased with that. We got to hear a little bit about a different case. I feel that's just absolutely terrible. But I think that we need to start connecting people with one another. Like, this is a perfect. Oops, did I just move my? I did just move my camera. Something happened. What's going on with my camera? Can you guys at least still hear me? Hopefully we're good. I don't know. Something else might happen. I don't know. Our camera's going in, camera's going out. I don't know. But that was great. I'm glad we got to chat about that. It's not good with what we're hearing. However, I think it's great because we're talking about stuff. Like, now I can connect this lady with Seth. That'll give us a little bit more information and give us an ability to get in front of different politicians. Like, we're trying to get in front of Tennessee politicians. She's got some people in Louisiana as well as Arkansas that Seth can get in front of now and start pushing this federal oversight that will help both people here, help people in situations like Seth Rogers, and also help people that are in situations like Jana, where her sister Crystal is, confirmed as self-harm, when the family's saying, wait a minute, my sister wasn't suicidal. She didn't have self-harm in her heart. Had it all of a sudden one day she wakes up, yet all her husband's making all these moves, calling this person, wanting this person to do. It just doesn't make sense. Like, what made the husband, want to do a wellness check? I mean, there's been many times my mom didn't pick up the phone when I called her. There's been many times my significant other didn't pick up the phone the minute that I called them, that I had to call back. Even in today's society, where we have our phones right next to us, there's been many times that I've called family or friends and they didn't pick up the first time I called. You never saw me immediately calling neighbors or calling law enforcement to do a wellness check. That doesn't bode in normal behavior. You don't immediately make that leap that something's wrong with them. And then to start burning the bed and the mattress after the person not wanting an autopsy, and then burning items in the house, that doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem normal. But, I digress. So what did we learn today? We learned that Ellen Greenberg has been reconfirmed as a suicide. I'm in awe. I'm literally in awe. And then we learn about Crystal's case, and definitely perked some red flags, on the top of my head as I was hearing her sister kind of explaining the case. So I'll review the case. I don't know if there's a whole lot I can do to help once it gets to that point, but we can connect people with each other and try to push some laws and try to support the people that are pushing those laws. That's all we can do, is change the laws. We can't fix the problems in the past, but hopefully through unity and perseverance, we can change the future for future victims that may meet their demise and it be foul play as opposed to self-harm. We need to get that stigma. There is mental illness in this country, but it doesn't mean everybody with mental illness wants to have self-harm, or will do self-harm. And just because they do have some mental problems doesn't mean that they're also not in domestic violence situations that can take their life. And we have to be looking at those things. Things happen. People are dying. We need to figure out why. All right, guys, rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe, but more importantly, kind to one another. And thank you all for being here. Let me just go through here. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. I do really appreciate all of you. Thank you. Justice for Crystal. We also have a gifted Bullhorn Betty membership from Melanie, and another one from Gwen for the 6 people that received the coveted Bullhorn Betty membership. Thank you. Welcome to this crazy family we call the Coffee Club, i.e. the Insane Asylum. Grab your straitjacket and your padded room and welcome aboard. And I know my beautiful ladies did it because I'm a love machine. Thought I'd throw that in there with you guys as well. I hope everybody is doing well. It has been a crazy and manic Monday, to say the least. It has been a crazy, manic Monday. I gotta be honest with you. I really am kind of in awe, right? I really am. I'm in awe that Ellen Greenberg has been reconfirmed as suicide. I feel this poor lady is screwed. Honestly, I really do. I feel like this poor lady's screwed. I feel like she is never, ever going to get any type of semblance of justice at all. And it's not because, hell, we try like heck to get people to fight for their family. Sometimes they have to do things that they're uncomfortable doing, like going out and standing in front of a law enforcement body and screaming in a karaoke box to demand answers for their loved ones. Sometimes it takes that. You guys have known me. I've sat with families where detectives would not talk to them, and we had to show up in force and basically threaten them a protest in the middle of their freaking parking lot unless they got a freaking a detective to come talk to the family. You know, there has been so many things that we have done over the years to try to drive the message. Oh, thank you, Jana. Justice for all. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, and that's kind of what you do. You have to do that sometimes. It's not that we want to be nasty to law enforcement. We're a Black the Blue channel. It's just sometimes, unfortunately, you've got to fight with law enforcement, and you got to apply pressure. And sometimes you got to stand in the middle of a freaking law enforcement body and say, look, you either give me a detective or I'm walking right out there and we're going to stand and do a protest in the middle of your parking lot. It's going to be loud, and we're going to keep coming back until an officer speaks to this family. A detective speaks to this family. And it's funny. You know how long it took us to get a detective to speak to that family? I think we had a detective there in an hour, which is unheard of. I mean, I'm pretty sure they were trying to blow us off, but I did go back in there, and I did have my bullhorn in my hand at the moment when I walked back in there, and I told them, I'm about to go out there. I just want to let you know I'm going out there in your parking lot. I'm about to set up, and we're going to do a protest right here. We're going to do a protest, and I'm going to start asking people to come up here and join us. And about 15 minutes later, we had somebody with the family going to the back room. We don't know what they said. It was the Paola Miranda Rosa case. It was the one that law enforcement believes that she was choppy with a gator, and we believe she was a victim of human tea. And ST, it appeared that she made it back to her car, like the wet towel was in the car, the shoes, the sandals that she would have been wearing were at the car. Her keys were in the car. Her wallet with cash was in the car. Everything was back at that car. But it's the big thing. It was the shoes. The shoes were the big thing for me. Because when we walked back to the Otter Creek area where she was in, where they believe the gator got to her, it was a long walk. It was almost a 2-mile walk. And there was big knobs all over that trail. I was wearing boots with steel toes, okay? And it hurt my feet walking on that path. It hurt my feet. I can't imagine somebody walking on that path barefoot. I doubt people were walking on that path barefoot, but she would have had to have been barefoot 2 miles. Her car was 2 miles away from where she was last seen. So I really do believe, and when we pulled into that parking lot, no joke, a weird white van followed me and Olivia into that parking lot. It was weird. I'm just going to say that. It was weird there. So, anyways, guys, thanks for being here. Jana, I'm glad we got an opportunity to chat. I'm glad I got an opportunity to learn a little more about your sister's case. God bless you. God bless your family. I wish things were a little bit different, but you know, this is a silver lining. You have an opportunity to really do something great on behalf of your sister to make sure that this doesn't happen. And as always, I definitely hope that you're being involved and you're becoming a crusader for even other people that are going through stuff like you're going through, because there is no book. And the only way we can all be effective is taking our pain and trying to help somebody not have their pain. And I hope that you, if anybody was there to help you, I hope you pay it forward. That's really my only advice, and just really do pray for you guys and pray for your family. Anyways, guys, have a great evening. We will be back tomorrow morning, rain or shine, right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. God bless each and every one of you. We'll see you soon.